Good evening and welcome to tonight. It's Sunday. Hope you're well. It is the Heroes Half Hour. I'm Hammy and this is FailCraft Casts. Hope you're really well and good this Sunday evening. Tonight we've got into the Heroes of the Storm technical alpha a little bit more. We're starting to get used to things, and as we are learning, we're just wanting for you to learn along and have fun with us. So what we're doing tonight is to jump outside of our introduction of the various different role types. We are jumping into a specialist hero, the new hero. It's Zagara week, so we're going to introduce a bit about Zagara, cover a little bit about the specialist hero's role as well and how that sort of class and type fits into Heroes of the Storm. We're going to take Zagara as an example, run through the kind of kit that this hero has, the kind of specialist role that Zagara has, and then jump into a game and just see how she works out. So for those of you not familiar with Zagara, she's from the StarCraft universe, very prominent in the story of Heart of the Swarm. Had to make sure I got my right HOTS there. So Zagara is very, very close with Kerrigan. Zagara works backing up Kerrigan, being the brood mother of the Zerg brood and Swarm. So she is a very, very cunning, vicious character, backs up Kerrigan, but very much hopes to usurp her one day, as all good Zerg do. Think of the Zerg a little bit like the Sith. There can only be one master, and there are always some apprentices, or one apprentice trying to take over the throne. So that is Zagara in a nutshell. So what does Zagara do? Zagara is a champion as a hero in Hero of the Swarm, has a bunch of Zergish type abilities. She is a specialist. Now specialists in Heroes of the Storm kind of have exactly what they say on the tin. They have a role where they can have a particular skill that can be very, very useful to the team in some way or another. They're not a stereotypical support, they're not a stereotypical assassin or warrior or anything like that. So what you'll have is you'll find that as just like any other hero, you can build specialists along a couple of different paths. You can build them towards being a damage dealer, you can build them towards being maybe sort of more of a supporty character, but above all they will have one particular skill that will certainly have more of an effect on their build or the way that you play them than anything else. So Zagara is quite a good pusher of lanes. She has some good siege ability. So what do I mean by a lane pusher? She can go along a lane and she can really control that lane, push back the enemy minions, maybe if she's got support, push back the enemy heroes, and then by siege I mean that she can have quite a good ability to push buildings. So she is of that kind of thing. Her abilities have got good ability to take out minions, push down buildings, and she's got a little bit of support utility as well. She can see the battlefield and similar. So without further ado, let's jump in and just firstly what we'll do in these Heroes half hours when we're going through a character or similar, we will edit these down for a quick hero guide on YouTube later. But the first thing we'll do, and I recommend this to you if you're new to Hero of the Storm, when you get in as well, make sure that you jump in and just have a little look at the heroes first. Now the great thing about Heroes of the Storm is here is Zagara herself. Note that, as one of our folks in the stream said, if you spin them around enough they suddenly get all dizzy. Thank you very much, Lud, in the stream for that. Dizzy Dar Zagara there. We can firstly take a quick look at abilities. We'll jump in and take a look at talents as well. So Zagara, we've said that she is good at pushing lanes, she is good at supporting and a bit of vision, and she's good at siege. How does that work? Well, first ability, Baneling Barrage. Now, you get a targeting arrow in a direction with this, you fire your Banelings, and what it does is launch a stream of Banelings that explode on contact with the enemy. Banelings are little rolling balls of acidic pussy stuff, and they explode and they do like kind of bomb damage. So that allows you to fire at buildings from range. It will let you stay back at range and fire at opposing heroes, opposing minions on the other team as well. So that is a ranged ability very much. You don't really want to be throwing that at people, and it will kill the first thing it comes across. If there is a neutral structure or otherwise in the way, it will blow up against that. It may not do it damage. So this, when it impacts against something, it blows up. So you need to make sure that it... Thank you very much for that, Zagara. You can snap the bones of your enemies in a little bit. So ranged ability, you want to be standing back, throwing that at people, throwing that at buildings, not really something you use too up close and personal. Next up we have Hunter Killer. So Hunter Killer basically is a targeted ability. You click on an opposing minion, an opposing structure, an opposing hero, and then your summon will follow. So that unleashes a Hydralisk. Now Hydralisks from StarCraft, they stand back. Having some lag with the video. Okay, let's see what we can do to fix that. Thank you very much for letting us know. So next up we have Hunter Killer. So Hydralisk will follow, so you summon a little Hydralisk minion and it will follow whatever you've targeted, or run up to it and start shooting away. Now it's got range, so it won't go into melee range, but it'll shoot at some range. So again, you can be using that for clearing lanes, pushing lanes, attacking and harassing enemy heroes, and similar. Next up is Infested Drop. You drop it and then it you drop a circle area, so it's got a circle area of effectability on it, and then it bombards an area with a Zerg drop pad, and then that spawns roachlings. So a few little roachling creatures will spawn, and they will then chase anything that is around, start attacking anything that's around. So again, you do damage when the infested drop first drops, so that can be used as an initial drop for some damage, area of effect damage, and then the roachlings will start attacking things in that area. Then we have Creep Tumor. Now this is very unique to Zagara, very good with all of the Zerg sort of lore. Creep Tumors generate creep. Now, for those of you who haven't played StarCraft, creep is effectively a sort of organic mat on the floor that really helps the Zerg. So this lets us, both Zagara and any minions that you spawn from any of these basic abilities, move a whole lot quicker. But then what creep will also do is, in some situations, it will let Zagara regenerate her health more quickly. So creep has got a few different functions. And thirdly, but by no means least, creep also grants some vision. So in terms of granting vision, generally on Heroes of the Storm's maps there are towers that you can capture. If you're walking along, you can see a certain area around you, but if you leave creep down, then you can see that area until the creep tumor disappears, or the area of creep disappears. Now a creep tumor that you drop with that doesn't stay forever, but while it is there, you can see that area of the map. Very, very valuable, because the more vision you have in games like this, you can see where your opponents are going, what they're trying to do. So Zagara's support in terms of giving vision is very, very useful. One of Zagara's heroic abilities that you can always pick one or the other, is Nidus Network. That means that you can place a Nidus Worm and you can travel between the Nidus Worms. Now there's a limit as to the amount of Nidus Worms you can place. However, the Nidus Worms let Zagara effectively move around more quickly and control more space. So you can see that as a supporty-ish character with some supporty style abilities, Zagara being able to jump up and down could means that she could jump in one channel and then put a lot of pressure in another channel. So Zagara can chase up, can chase down, and do all kinds of things in terms of pushing one lane, pushing another lane. So that mobility is great. You can also jump back to your base, for example. That's a really good example of the use of Nidus Network. You can throw down a Nidus Worm in your base, but we'll cover that in a little bit. Just covering Zagara. So that's a good example. So Nidus Network mobility. A smart Zagara player, as an experienced Zagara player, I'm quite new to Zagara, so we'll try and show you Zagara in a game in a second, but Zagara is mobile. If you drop those Nidus Worms in nice hidden places, very much like you would a Murky Egg, for example, you can jump out and then go and have a look and see how it looks. You can jump into one lane, jump into another lane, go and support your friends on one side of the map, then jump back and push a lane on the other, keep it moving. The other Zagara heroic ability is Devouring Maw. Now what Devouring Maw does, it basically summons something that looks like a Nidus Worm from the ground, and that then engulfs enemies in the area. So what it does is effectively stuns and stops enemies from moving in that area for a bit, and then also does damage. So what Devouring Maw can do, it's a really good initiator. Now by initiator, what I mean is Zagara can use that ability to freeze a key enemy team member, for example, just before a fight starts. So you do have initiating abilities. So say, for example, I could stun an enemy. That's an example of initiating. This freezes an enemy in place and does some damage. So again, that's another initiating ability. So you've got two different heroics there. Zagara can either initiate for her team, that's slightly more offensive, or she can be using Nidus Network, which is slightly more defensive or supporty or positional. So you can see from these abilities that Zagara is generally good at range. She's generally good at pushing down minions and pushing forward. She's got some good support abilities in terms of space and control. What Zagara is not is absolutely not a warrior or similar. You're not going to be wanting to go in and try and fight one-on-one with Zagara. In team fights, Zagara needs to sit back, use these ranged abilities, try and control space with creep, try and heal herself up with creep, and then if you are jumping into a fight, maybe if Zagara is getting involved, she will Devouring Maw a big target. So Zagara, good in terms of supporting, can do a lot of damage, can push lanes, not so strong in terms of one-on-one engagements. You're not going to be brawling toe-to-toe when you get in game. So that is Zagara in a nutshell. First thing, and the really good thing about Heroes of the Storm is that I would always encourage you, when you get into the alpha, beta, whatever you get into, look at this try button down here. I really, really like this feature that Blizzard have implemented, because in some other games you can't try before you buy, but you know what? in Heroes of the Storm you can. So we can jump in. I'm quickly just going to illustrate Zagara's abilities for you, take a look at different talents, and show you similarly how we can build a Zagara. So in terms of Zagara, a couple of different options. You can go for sort of a split pushing lanes, Nidus network builds, similar kind of things like that. So you can build Zagara in that fashion. So here is a lovely example of what we can do. This is the try mode in Heroes of the Storm. So you can take any hero, whether you own them or not, you can take them out and you can just see what they can do. So firstly note that Zagara cannot mount, but you can fly and go a little bit faster. So you can see if I hit mount, Zagara gets on wings there, and you can see that she can fly a little bit faster. You're not going to be getting a Zagara on a horse. So there we go. So we can see Zagara's talents here, 147, so we'll quickly run through the various different builds of these and what we can do. Firstly, we'll illustrate the abilities for you. So Bailing Barrage, this is the base level Bailing Barrage. You can see, as we said, it is a targeted line of sight ability. If I fire that, you can see my Bailings fire out and then explode for area damage. So there is a Bailing Barrage for you. Now you can upload the speed at which those Bailings go, the distance that they go, and similar things with talents. So you can have double the distance with centrifugal hooks, so that is really a really long siege ability. Zagara, you can see, can almost be just shooting from absolutely miles away with centrifugal hooks, and similar. Let's just look at other things we have for your Banelings. Of course, if they're on creep, they'll go faster, and similar things like that. Banelings do increased non-heroic damage. You can go for volatile acid, so Banelings are doing more damage to buildings and enemy minions, which is always good. If we go a little bit further up the tree, Baneling Massacre, increased numbers of Banelings, so you can have absolutely crazy amounts of long range, big exploding huge Banelings. So that's a real siege orientated build. And then lastly at 20, then basic attacks of your hero change to enemies. There's nothing else that you can grab there. So there's a few different things that upgrade your Bailing Barrage. So let's say, for example, and this is a good thing, look, you can reset levels, you can level up, you can clear your cooldowns. Let's say, for example, I grab centrifugal hooks, level up.
Choose a talent.
I'll grab a talent. I'm just going to grab anything here for the time being, because I want to show you the Banelings. Let's get Banelings doing increased non-heroic damage. I'm going to go for Devouring Maw for no particular reason.
Choose a talent.
And one of whatever, because we would very much like more Banelings. More Banelings! There's Baneling Massacre. Okay, so that is us all the way up to everything, and we'll get through the storm. So anything else you level up from here, of course, is not going to be doing anything. So that's our fully charged up. You can see, oh, look how long that Baneling is. Look how long that Baneling. So that's double Baneling range for you. And look at all of those Banelings. I've got double the amount of Banelings. And oh, look, all of those Banelings. Can you see that I've just shredded a tower into half health? That is the power of doubly upgraded Banelings. So this is a really good example of Zagara Siege. Look at that. A tower down with 2 shots of Zagara's Banelings. So if I've got to top level, that is the sheer amount of siege ability that Zagara has. So let's reset Zagara right back to the beginning. So Bailing Barrage, that is our illustration of that. Next up, Zagara ability number 2 that we discussed, Hunter Killer. So that summons a Hydralisk, can attack a single target and deal some damage, and he only lasts a particular time. So let's toggle minions. I would like some minions, please. Bots are also on as well. So we can show you what we can do with these. So there you go. So, oh, there's a bot. Let's just be careful of the bot. So, Hunter Killer, you can see that I've got an area of effect I can summon it in. I'm going to summon it there, and you can see I've got this Hydralisk that will start pinging away. He's doing some okay damage. He, after killing that target note, disappears. So I'm going to clear my cooldowns. I'm going to drop on a hero, and you can see that my Hydralisk is just going to ping away at Arthas. He will follow Arthas' note. He's just going to try to ping away. Arthas is just going to kill him. There you go. So he did a little bit of damage. So that's your basic. They stole from CUD. Hunter Killer, says Skywilder in chat. Welcome, Skywilder. It's great to have you with Chris, Lud. All good to have you this evening. So there you go. That is Hunter Killer in itself. Now let's see what can power that up. Well, we can go in and have. Ooh, I forgot what the talent is. Let's go and find it. We've got Roachlings, got Banelings. Increased creep tumors. There's Mutalisk, which we can get, which then changes a Mutalisk that can fly and has a bounce attack, so that does more damage. And you've got flying minions. You can go for Groove Spines as well, so you've got increased Hydralisk range and damage. So level 13 gives you a couple of different options for your Hunter Killer. And then last but not least, you can have 2 charges of Hunter Killer, so you can throw that out and shoot twice. 2 minions for the price of 1. So let's quickly charge up Hunter Killer and show you what that can look like.
Choose a talent.
I'm going to take random things. So forgive me while we just quickly power up. More creep, more creep.
Choose a talent.
Let's go for more again. Okay, now we can let's grab Mutalisk, because increased Hunter Killer range and damage, you can't really probably see much. You can see the additional range. We'll go for Mutalisk, quickly show you what that looks like. Oh, our Druid's bottom kill. So you can see we've now got a Mutalisk who's flying, pinging away with a little bit more damage, of course, there. Remember that he is going to be lasting for 50% longer duration, so he'll actually have 12 seconds, and you may notice that he has a bounce attack that bounces around too. Finally, we can have 2 Hunter Killers. So again, self-explanatory, but I can drop 2 charges. I've now got 2 Mutalisks. Note that Arthas can be killing those Mutalisks. He's swinging away, but there's a reasonable amount of damage. Malfurion aside, and let's take out Arthas just because whoever used to like him anyway. Arthas is down. Lovely. So that is Hunter Killer summarised. Let's quickly just reset our level, and back we go. So Hunter Killer, you can go for Hydralisk, you can have longer range, you can have double charges, but what that lets you do, it lets you put that an extra amount of pressure on an enemy hero, or you can be pinging away at, for example, siege structures. Next up we have Infested Drop. So let's quickly get ourselves into the action and show you what Infested Drop can do. So first up, let's go for the basic Infested Drop. So you can see it's got the area, it will do damage when it lands, and then it's will spawn a few little roachlings as well. You can see the roachlings here, they ping away for a while, and they have 2, 4, 5 health, 15 damage, and last for 8 seconds. So they're not shabby, they'll sit there and do some damage. So what have we got? We've got Ventral Sacs, increased amounts of roachlings. Additional talents, let's see what we've got here. Nothing good there for our Infested Drop. Next up, we can then have increased duration from kills. So if they kill, then they will last for longer. Next up, in terms of talents for Infested Drop, we have where do we have? We have nothing in this particular one. Bile Drop, Infested Drop, impact damage increased. Lovely. And then we get to the top one. So there we go, let's look at our improved Infested Drop. So we've got Ventral Sacs, it's spawning 3 Roachlings now. Corpse Feeders, if Roachlings earn kills, then their life is increased by 10 seconds, which is good, so you can have your Roachlings out for longer, and then the enemies hit by the drop pod take additional 100% of that damage over 4 seconds. So there you go, Arthas then gets a dot on him, and you can see we've got a lot of Roachlings who are kicking around. And again, let's just quickly go and avenge against this bot. We shall have vengeance! Oh, there you go. We've eaten him into the maw. Lovely stuff. And that is an example of Devouring Maw. Summon a Devouring Maw that deals 832 damage and devours enemies for 4 seconds. Of course, remember that we're fully leveled up here, or quite leveled up at 20, so that is the Devouring Maw ability. Tyrant Maw deals more damage, and heroes killed one of the Maw reduce its cooldown by 50 seconds, so that's quite nice. If you actually finish someone off with that Maw, then the cooldown is reduced. But remember that your ultimate can have an additional upgrade. So we will now show you the other ultimate. Let's level up. Let's get ourselves to 10. Now Nidus Network is the other ultimate, so let's quickly just pick some talents. Let's go for the Nidus. So Nidus Network, in its basic form, makes you make 2 worms that you can travel between. So first up, I'm just going to stick a worm down there, and then for the purposes of illustration, let's get outside of our base. Let's kill Arthas once for good measure, for all of the pain we've experienced in Ice Crown Citadel. And let's just, for the sake of argument, stick up another swarm here. So in we go. There you go, entering Nidus Swarm. Oh, zoom. Takes a little while. And then with another R, I can get out. So if I click it, it stacks me in. But note that I then need to go and click where I want to come out. So by that little channel time, you can see just the pace at which I can move across the map here. Imagine if that was next to a big objective, for example. This example you've got, if I'm in a lane and I hide this, obviously I'm not putting this right in the middle of my lane. You see, Arthas, the cruel person, is trying to go for my Nidus worm. Get away from my worm. But you can see that enemies can kill it, so I'd want to hide it somewhere sensible, so the Nidus worm will let me jump around the map very nicely. I'm just going to level all the way up, so I can show you the upgraded Nidus worm as well. Broodling nest, spawn broodlings when it's hitting a Nidus worm. So in we get. So this is more of an offensive option for the Nidus worm. Okay, yum, in I go to the Nidus, and if I decide to click and come out of the Nidus, oh, broodlings come out, and those broodlings start attacking. So it's a more offensive option for Zagara. You can see if I then come out of this, then, oh, there is a cooldown on those broodlings, I'm guessing, and this effect has a 20-second cooldown. So those broodlings attack up the nearest lane. So you can see I still get, I should still have some broodlings somewhere. I don't know how long the broodlings live for. The effect has a 20-second cooldown, so the broodlings will probably die quite quick. And as a result, if you've got a Nidus worm somewhere near a lane, then you can add some additional reinforcements to that lane. So that is Zagara in a nutshell. We've gone through a little bit about all of Zagara's abilities. How can you build Zagara? So Zagara, you can take a different couple of builds. You can see that, for example, we could go for a more kind of split pushing Nidus worm style build. So what we would do is we would focus on siege. We'd want to leave a Nidus in our base, and then we could perhaps leave a Nidus somewhere near our front lines, so we can start pushing up and putting pressure down. You put any other Nidus worms in nooks and crannies around the map, so you could kind of hide them away like a murky egg spot. And then what that will let you do, this sort of split pushing Nidus worm build would let you push forward using Nidus worms, jump from one piece of the map to the other. You can use the Nidus worms to get back to your base, re-heal, get mana, get back into the field, and just keep pushing and pushing minions and lanes and structures. So that's a way that you can build. So how would we go? We'd probably go for Ventral Sacs for early game pressure. Your drop would spawn some more Roachlings, which would all be good. Then at our second kind of talent, we would probably then go for something like Medusa Blades. These are helping you stay in the lane, and they're also helping you farm minions and push forward in your lane more. So you're not relying on mana, you're able to push forward by attacking 3 additional targets with basic attacks. That's using Zagara in a melee sense to farm down minions nice and quick. So we'd probably go for level 2 Medusa Blades. As we get to tier 3, we then go probably for Volatile Acid. The Banelings doing increased damage would then allow you to push down minions, and again, non-heroic just means not against enemy heroes, so you'd also push down buildings a lot more quickly as well. If we're trying this push build, then we'd probably then go at this stage obviously for well, Nidus worms, of course, for a heroic we would need. That will let us travel up and down from the front lines. We'll then probably jump into Grooved Spines, increased Hunter Killer range and damage. So again, the Hunter Killer that we spawn, that will let us push forward more and be killing more minions and similar. So that's good for continuing our push build. Again, we've got up here, and we probably then go for, ooh, I've just missed it. Well, we need to put Grooved Spines. Baneling Massacre, we'd go for increasing the number of banelings that we have. Again, the more banelings we have, you saw in our illustrated example, more banelings, more siege damage, more pressure, letting us again pick off those minions and structures that we're really after.
Choose a tower.
And then finally we would probably go for the Broodling Nest, obviously because we've got the Nidus Worm. What we can then do is adding those broodlings to our lane would then let us push forward also with broodlings, so we'd have even more pressure in our lane. So you can see this kind of build, our sort of siege style build. What would I do? Well, when I get my initial Nidus Worm up, I drop one in my base. Let's just quickly get rid of Arthas. You can see my additional banelings going in there, tons of damage. I can throw down my drop pod, doing lots of damage as well. You can see that even without it would be nice if we could remove the second hero on our team. I'll then, for the sake of argument, throw up my Nida Swim here. So you can see loads of banelings, enemy hero from range. I can throw down my hunter killer and my drop pod. So we've already got the fort down. Let's push in and let's show you the effectiveness of Zagara in siege. You can see me throwing out my banelings, they're flying forward, doing all well and good. Throwing down my drop pod so we can see a little bit extra pressure here. More banelings. You can just see how nicely I'm picking right here from range. Arthas comes a bit closer, I run away. Hunter killer again, and you can see this kind of basic playstyle that Zagara is building up. You can see that we're trying to stay at range. Now, one thing that I've not really mentioned so far is D, our trait, Creep Tumor. So this laser tumor that generates creep, you can see the creep, and you can see that minions move faster, and we also regenerate health faster on our... Sorry, just have to have a little cough there. So, creep is so important. Now, if you played StarCraft, you know creep. You can see creep, this sort of organic mesh underfoot. Tumors last for 240 seconds, and they disappear, and the creep also goes with it. So, you want to throw these tumors down in your lanes because it lets you move faster, it lets all of your summons also move faster, and it also means that you regenerate health on your hero quicker. So, you can see that with this siege sort of Nidus build that we've got, you can see that my Zagara is not doing huge amounts of damage to this enemy hero. However, as soon as we start rolling out our banelings against non-heroic enemies, can you see how quickly I just cut down that wave of enemy NPC heroes? So this is Zagara the lane pusher. Zagara is not going to be used in this build in terms of any 1v1 hero heroics, but what Zagara can do, as you can see, as I'm throwing out all of my minions, my drop pods, I'm going to summon my banelings, exactly how quickly we're bursting all of that kind of thing down. So let's reset my level, refresh the forts, and then let's go through another kind of build for Zagara. So here's a different way you could build Zagara. If you want to be trying to do sort of a more team fighting kind of build, you want to be a bit more in the mix and a bit more things like that. Let's get minions and bots on. Again, we'll get Malfurion back up. So here's a different example you could go for. This could be more of a team fighty, burst damaging Zagara, and looking for initiates. You want to be using Devouring Maw, your heroic ability, to get into a fight, snare someone from the enemy team, probably an assassin or someone who does a lot of damage, do a lot of damage, maybe pick off a healer. So this is a lot more aggressive Zagara kind of build than the last one we just looked at. So you're going to be a bit better for getting in fights, you're going to be doing more damage one-on-one, a little bit more pushy. So how would we build that kind of Zagara? Well, we'd probably go for something like, I don't know, we could go for centrifugal hooks, giving your banelings longer damage. So if I'm getting involved in a team fight, not only can I do some siege damage to buildings and minions, but I can also engage enemy heroes from further away. So very, very useful. Next up, I would then probably go, if I'm leveling up, I'd probably then go for, at tier 2, I'd probably then go for Envenomed period. So that is just a sheer out dot, and by dot I mean damage over time. So if I activate that ability, you can see that I poison a hero, 300 damage over 6 seconds. That's straight out fighting ability, not doing anything against minions, nothing against structures either. I just want to be getting stuck in and doing some damage with Envenom. So that's really a sort of a Zagara in your face team fight upfront ability. At tier 3, I would then probably go for Volatile Acid. Now you've seen how good our banelings are. Banelings here, okay, doing you know, better team fighting, but then they can also pick off minions, they can pick off hero camps and things as well. If you wanted to go for a really aggressive Zagara, you could look at taking something like Battle Momentum, basic attacks decreasing your ability cooldowns, but you'd have to get basic attacks in as Zagara in a team fight, and that involves getting very close. Roachling's also a decent option, and then Rapid Incubation is sort of more of sustainability. So I'd probably go for a Volatile Acid, but there are some other options you could go for too. Anything that's helping Zagara do more damage and live a bit more in a team fight. So Heroic, we've already said I'd take Devouring Maw, because that is an aggressive Zagara ability. It is letting you... At tier 6 I would then probably go tier 5, I'd probably then go for Groove Spines. Again, it gives you your Hunter Killer range and damage, helps you attack more enemy heroes as well. Additionally, you could just go for Giant Killer if you're going to be really aggressive. Giant Killer, of course, empowering your basic attacks against heroes, or Spell Shield would give you a bit more sustain by reducing incoming ability damage from other heroes. So again, it's really whether you want to, if you want to be fighting at range, you can go for Groove Spines. If you want to be really up close and personal, basic attacks against heroes, if you're getting in that close with Zagara, you're going to have to be oh so careful and quick with your positioning to make sure you don't get nuked out of the park. I generally like to tend to play Zagara at range, so I'd go for the increased Hunter Killer range. Let's level up, and we would probably then go for Brood Expansion, so 2 charges of Hunter Killer, that's keeping us at range. Baneling Massacre, more Banelings at range could also be a good option, but again, go for one of those two if you're going for a more Zagara in your face. I want to be helping in team fights. A shield as well with Stone Skin, if you want to be surviving a bit longer, could be a good option. But for an offensive option, let's maybe go for, if you're going with Banelings for your attack, go with the Baneling option. If you're going with Hunter Killer for your range damage in a team fight, of course you go with the Hunter Killer buffing option. So finally, Tyrant, more damage and cooldown is reduced with hero kills, so if you manage to kill a hero and finish them off with your Devouring Maw, then you'll have it's 50 seconds less, so you can cast one of those a lot more quickly. So that is our quick review of Zagara abilities.